Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you all been doing well. Today, I'd like to talk a little bit about this. The Case Sodbuster Jr. Jig Peach Seed Mahogany Bone. Look at that. I'm excited. But before we get into that, just do a little pocket check. Something that I recently kind of refound is this Victorinox multi-tool. Now, what do you guys think about multi-tools? Not quite a knife, not quite a tool, but I definitely think that they're definitely a needed item in your arsenal. This one in particular, I really like, and I actually just kind of refound it. I used to use this all the time, but I misplaced it. But this one is made by Victorinox, the same company that makes Swiss Army knives, and I love this one. I also have Leathermans. I got other multi-tools that I've used many times, and I still like them too, but when I started using this one, I just fell in love for multiple reasons. I'm not going to go into it today, but maybe we should do another video on one of these. Again, just like Victorinox Swiss Army knives, it's made with the top quality. It's the whole thing, the fit and finish, amazing. Got the same tools that you might find in Leatherman, but I really like the way that they do the tools on on these multi-tools. This one is called the, let me see here, the Swiss Tool Spirit X. You can find them anywhere. I think I got this one on Amazon. But one of the things I think is pretty cool about this is this, they have this knife. It's got some tape on it from me cutting open stuff. It kind of looks like a butter knife, but it's actually serrated and it's wickedly sharp. I mean, this is the sharpest tool I've ever seen. It's so ridiculously sharp, especially for being serrated. Each of these little tines here are just absolutely like razors. But I don't know why. I kind of really, maybe I'm just a weirdo because I'm like this with other knives too. I just like weird knife shapes. Or blade shapes, I should say. But this butter knife is so handy. It's got a little belly, not much, but I just love using this. Super sharp, super usable. Don't know why I like it. It doesn't have a point, but it does work for me. I don't know. Also, these lock just like any other multi-tool, and so to actuate the lock, you just pull back on this. So you can actually use two fingers, pull back, and essentially unlock it, and it locks like that. But really, if you just feel the action, it's buttery smooth. The action on these is just incredible. Anyway, it's not a Victorinox Spirit Swiss tool review, but I wanted to point it out. The only problem is it does get all kinds of fingerprints on it, but really, does it matter for a tool? Not really. I do like that it comes in this sheath, which again, you know, like everything they do is just top notch. This emblem on the front is just quality, and the pouch itself is pretty nice. The only thing is if you wanted to keep other things in there, like some pouches have extra holders for pens and other instruments, you're not going to get that. But I actually appreciate the fact that it comes in a pouch that only keeps things very minimal. It doesn't have a big external belt loop either. You can, it is a belt loop here, but it kind of hides itself really nicely. So in actuality, I throw this in the glove compartment, I throw it in the back of a backpack, and that's actually how I usually use these. I don't really carry these on my belt. Anyway, it's already a few minutes in, and I haven't even talked about the real reason we have this video today. Not often am I excited, really honestly excited about a knife for the way it looks and the way it kind of just feels. But once in a while, and I know it's strange perhaps, but this Sodbuster Jr. did that for me. You know, we all kind of have our little pet knives that we like, and this is kind of my thing. You know, I've been kind of fallen down the case rabbit hole recently. If you know my channel, you've caught me at a time where, you know, in the past I've collected all kinds of knives, mostly GECs when it comes to the traditional knife game, but lately it's been case knives because I just feel like they're there's a great story behind them. They're pretty accessible. There's different price points, so it's pretty cool. But I've really kind of drawn closer and closer to the Sodbuster Juniors. I just feel like, first of all, I've always been like a single blade guy. I've been slowly getting into multi blade configurations, but there's always going to be a single blade preference in my collection. And then, of course, the blade shape. I'm a big fan of the Sodbuster Jr. type of blade shape. And also, there's a couple other, like, just particular to me, factors that I enjoy. One would be, like, I like a easy to open knife, pinchable, if you will. That kind of is part of why I think the Sodbuster Jr. is so appealing to so many people, because you can really hand this to anybody and it's the quintessential knife. You don't need like a fidgety, lots of complex things. You know, it's not a modern folder where some people feel intimidated just opening it. This is a knife where you can hand it to anybody and say, hey, here's like a knife. And they recognize it as their grandfather's knife, so to speak. But it's also easy to open. It's also accessible. It's easy to put in your pocket. There's a lot of reasons why I think Case Sodbuster, or not Case, but just Sodbuster Jr. patterns are so popular. But why in particular do I like this one? Well, I personally just think it's, first of all, the coloring and the finishing of this particular pattern or model is just extraordinary. When I first saw this, I was like, what is that? You know, this mahogany peach, why can't I say this? Peach seed mahogany bone is like amazing. And I can't stop looking at it. Also, if you look at it, there's just like, I don't know how they got, if they just started doing this more often with other knives, I think they would just be hitting it out of the park, Case. But like everything about this particular model is just seems like a notch above. Now, this particular model, I mean, if you're into the fit and finish aspect, this one in particular is no different than any other, I don't think, from Case especially. I mean, the fit and finish is pretty similar. I mean, the opening and closing, the action's good. The centering on this one is just about middle, maybe pile side. It favors maybe the pile side slightly, but not even that much. You know, it's still in the break-in period, to be honest. I've only had it for a little while, so you know, it's smooth enough, I would say. So I mean, it's basically case finishing. Nothing to report here on that. But a couple things to me about this particular model that stands out. First of all, I've kind of gone on some shield rants before, but I love the shield. This is how you do a shield. All right, finally. You know, like this XX has symmetry, it has centering, it's well done, it's bold, but it's not too in your face, it's legible, and it's kind of badass. It's just like says XX. All right, here we go. You know, it's not and I hate to kind of harp on it, but you know, another case that I've featured on the channel before is this one. You know, I don't like, you know, this shield. I can barely see it right here. I can barely understand what it says. If I didn't know this was a case, I don't know if I for a while I couldn't figure out what it said. But I know it says case, and then below that little tail it says XX underneath there. But this is how you shouldn't do a shield, in my opinion. Of course, you know, you're free to disagree. What do you think? I think some of them are more legible than others. I have this one, but you know, now we're splitting hairs. This one is more legible, but it's not any better, I think, in terms of design. I'd prefer it, and I did this the other day. This one, no shield. Might as well go here like that. I mean, then you get the symmetry of both sides. No shield. I might as well at this point, because if you're going to do a shield, make it like this. Yes, well done. Secondly, I really do like the width and the thickness of this. It's I prefer the thinner ones. And I don't know exactly why Case Sodbuster Juniors kind of are different. I talked about this the other day in my video. I'm not sure if there's a rhyme or reason to which are thicker. There's a size for everyone, it seems like, in terms of thickness. For instance, the other day I pulled this one. I did a video. This one is the Autumn. Let's see. Again, long name, Autumn Bone Deep Canyon jig bone, right? So this one's like super thick. Check it out. Look at that. It's like two different knives, really. Can I put it down here like this? Would that help us figure this out? You know, like in terms of thickness, it's like this is a different type of thing. You know, I've also got this. Sorry about that. Bumped the camera. This Bone Stag Sodbuster Jr. is another thick one. You know, this is a chunky one. This is a thinner one. This Amber Bone Peach Seed is one of the thinner ones. One of the thinnest ones I've ever seen was this one. I do like this. The Pocket Worn Gray Bone. I don't know if it's appreciable, but to me, when you hold this in the hand, you'll notice that it is actually just slightly, I could bring out a caliper, but I'm pretty sure it's just slightly, maybe like the width of a piece of paper or two thinner than this one. So I would say this is almost so thin that it's slightly uncomfortable. Actually, it gets to be a little too thin. But some people say that's an attractive feature, you know, and I would agree. You can actually put this in your like shirt pocket and it kind of disappears right in there. See how thin it is? I mean, it's just a different type of, you know, it's like, yeah, you can see it here, maybe. You know, it's just an appreciable difference in thickness. Anyway, they don't really talk about the thickness of these that much. They do talk about other things like you know, the covers, the blade material, but they don't talk about the thickness, and I don't really know what the rhyme or reason behind that is. But I will say I'm kind of preferential to this like middle ground, where it's not too thick and it's not too thin. Also, what's really great, and again, I mentioned this before, that I don't still know exactly what the difference is, but I do prefer carbon steel, or CV steel for case, carbon or CV steel. I'm not as big of a fan of the stainless steel. Nothing wrong with stainless steel. I just, you know, when it comes to traditional knives, I'm a big fan of the carbon steel, the CV steel. I like it. It's something that I'm used to using. Easy to sharpen, really sharp, and it holds up well. Like I don't really find that there's any need for me to go with the super steels that they have in modern folders. But the most cool part is obviously like it builds character. You know, it does take on a patina over time that in some ways makes it a little bit more attractive. So I do gravitate towards kind of like this one is, for instance, stainless steel, and it does well. This is actually one of my users. I don't know if you can tell, but I actually kind of like knocked down some of the edges because I do use this, and I just made it a little bit rounder in my hands, because before I did that, it was like 90-degree edges on every side, and I just felt like it was a little blocky in my pocket and in my hand. So, you know, as a user, you'll see like I don't mind, you know, quote unquote modifying. So I just dremeled the edges down, and so it's a lot more I guess rounded. Anyway, I do like it. It's comfortable. This is stainless steel, so I do use it and it works great. You know, that's fine. But in terms of just carrying in the pocket, this is going to be my go-to. Just the color, so rich. And let me tell you else. Let me tell you what else. I also just feel like there's a certain level of sophistication to the fact that if you look at it's almost like towards the periphery of these scales, if you can call it scales or covers. On the one side, you'll see they do like almost like a chamfering. And what ends up happening is you get this, like, you can see that there's like a border around the covers of this particular model where You can really see as the light goes through the bone, you really see the grain. And that's the kind of richness that you get from bone covers that you don't get in like maybe like you don't get that in synthetic, right? Or even wood sometimes, unless you do this extra step of really kind of like chamfering the entire edge and really making sure that the color and the stain and the dyes come out of your material. In this case, it's bone, but it really does kind of add this extra layer of sophistication. Like right here towards the end, you can see the polish bone kind of popping, and then it gets into the jigging. You don't get that. You don't get that as much. Let's say over here, right? This one. I mean, you do a little bit, but they didn't really bother. They just sort of rounded off the edges, and um, in this color, it just doesn't pop like that, which is fine. I mean, this is fine. There's nothing wrong with this. I just think when it comes to this one, this is like another level. Like this looks like something that punches well above what it costs. And good on Case. Like there's a lot of basically crap talking about Case, but like they hit it out of the park here, I think. Um, what else? I mean, just color choice is great. I just feel like, at least for me, this is gonna look better and better. It's got the brass liners as they often do, but to me, when it matches with a color like this rich, it's just gonna look better and better as the liner kind of also takes on patina, I guess. It's actually going to be enhanced by patina with this rich color. And also, as the blade, in this case it's carbon steel, it's going to really actually accentuate the character of this color uh, bone. It's just going to look better and better. It's not always the case. I mean, sometimes I think when things patina, it kind of looks a little dirty, a little used up. But I think it depends on the matching, right, of the covers to the blade. I think it's going to look great. Just my opinion. I don't know. We'll see as this continues to progress. But I just think like these, to me, what stood out to me is this is just these covers, and there's just enough, I guess, polish and gloss to it. It's not super shiny, but it does pop at the right kind of parts. Like the edges pop with the polish, the raised parts of the jigging are polished, but the jigging has also got some interesting texture to make it really sophisticated. So you could say that this would be a good carry, or a sophisticated, almost like a gentleman's carry in a lot of ways, because it really does hold up well in under any situation. It's not like a bright yellow or synthetic color where you're like, okay, well, that's probably more of a sportsman or a user. This can be both carried in a pocket, or in a dressier mode, or you could definitely, this will hold its own in any situation, in the work site or out there outdoors in the garden or hunting. It's just so versatile, and I just think this is an instant classic. Anybody that hasn't seen this one yet, man, let me tell you, this is. I hope they do go back to this type of this type of color and design. And I know they're having fun with a lot of other models that are like this. For instance, this what's it called? I just have to always reference it. Autumn Bone Deep Canyon. I mean, this is fun for sure. And this has its I might do another video sometime just after carrying this for a while. This has its fun too. And it's eye-catching. So this is fun. But this, I think, is where it's at. I'm just so blown away by this, and you can tell I'm enamored. I just that's crazy. Like, this is great. This is why we get excited about case knives. This is why we get excited about knives in general. It has nothing to do with the price. You could find a knife 3 times more expensive and not get the enjoyment out of it as this one. So anyway, guys, I've gone on kind of long enough, I think. What do you guys think? Is this one of the better Case Sodbuster Juniors? What do you prefer? What do you like to carry? Um, have you tried a case? Have you tried any Sodbusters? You know, like is this a pattern that you enjoy, you like, or have you not dipped your toe into that yet? Let me know. And please leave a comment, hit the like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. Please do, because I love reaching out. I love putting out these videos. To be honest, right now it's just me talking to myself mostly, but I do appreciate whenever you guys leave comments because I still am I'm on a roll. I've responded to every single comment, and I do appreciate the interaction. That's what it's here for. So please reach out, leave a comment. Hope you're having a great day. I'll see you guys in the next one.